Remember, this show is PG-13, so you might hear a naughty word or two. TumbleTrack is having a sale. They have 5% off carpet bonded foam, always important, and they have the New Year, New You 10% off sale. So you can check out all the things they have and the sale at TumbleTrack. Visit TumbleTrack at TUMBLTRAK, tumbletrack.com. Train smart. Today, we have Olympian, Paris all-around finalist, Alabama great, NCAA champion on beam, Luisa Blanco is here to chat with us and tell us some very exciting news. German gymnasts are calling for an investigation. We'll tell you all the details. And the NCAA season has started with record for the last 5 years, low scores in the new Oversight era. The new season of Watch Your Favorite Olympic World Champion Elite compete every weekend for 14 weeks is here. College season. We're going to talk about it. It's January 6th, 2025, and welcome to the #1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and I'm here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation. And in case you missed it, we have a show called College and Cocktails, the NCAA Gymnastics post-meet show, which we've been doing for years now. And we started last week this season, so you can listen to Friday's episode. We pick a meet and we watch it. Then we all get together as a family and discuss it immediately afterwards with a signature cocktail or mocktail. We have a menu for you. And our challenge for you this year is to bring a friend. Bring a friend to College and Cocktails. This week, we're doing it after the Sprouts meet. So it's going to be on Saturday, not Friday. Day drinking or mocktail drinking at 3 p.m. Saturday, the 11th, after the Sprouts spot on ABC. What's that?
3 p.m. Pacific. Just to
Pacific.
clarify. 3 p.m. for us in our
3
time.
p.m. for us.
It might not be college and day drinking for you where you live, but hopefully we try to do this every once in a while during the season for our early sleepers / people outside the United States who aren't necessarily awake after the late meets end. So, a daytime.
And we have a little teaser for College and Cocktails at the end of this episode if you want to know what goes on over there. This week's cocktail is Conference Change, vodka, tea, and strawberry.
Sounds good.
Let's start with the headlines.
Okay.
So the German gymnasts, a bunch of German elites have had some things to say. They've posted things on social media. 6 German elites are complaining that the German Federation ignored their abuse. There is a great article by Sandra Schmidt in the Frankfurter Allgemeine about everything that's happened. I want to quote from Tabea Alt, Olympian World Championship competitor as well. She posted on Instagram.
Tabea said, "My health was deliberately at risk by disregarding medical guidelines and letting me do gymnastics with several bone fractures. It is not an isolated case. Eating disorders, punishment training, painkillers, threats, and humiliation were the order of the day. We were manipulated from an early age to be controllable."
Sounds familiar.
A sadly familiar story.
In 2021, the story says that she sent a 38-page letter to the German Federation, and she said it was ignored or not taken seriously. And the story from Sandra Schmidt says, as part of the cultural change product, there was a working group to assess the conditions in all federal bases. Results were never made public.
Federal bases refers to national training centers, which was in Stuttgart for the German gymnastics program.
And a lot of the complaints from gymnasts seem to center around Stuttgart. The coaches, Mary Louise Mai and
Comiciati.
Thank you. Those are the coaches who are the main coaches at Stuttgart. They are currently the coaches of Helen Kevrich, who is the Paris Olympian and the German all-around champion. And so the German Federation says that they're initiating an investigation. So we will keep you updated on this story and what is happening. We went to the Oceanside meet this weekend.
Oh, we sure did. And what a time it was. Yeah. We have a lot to say about the actual gymnastics, but I think we should start by talking about sort of the organizational cluster that this meet was, because Jessica and I show up for the meet on Saturday, like when it's going to start, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, new season, college gymnastics season getting started, and like the coaching staffs looked like they had already been through the Great War by that point. It was like it had been a time already.
And like part of that was just, I mean, there's so many things that went wrong, including like we were never told that we had credentials. There was never, I mean, some people showed up like still not knowing. There was a secret list that no one had seen and no one had been told about. But we, had to get in touch with people eventually outside of the lines to find out if we had a credential. But like that's not even the important part. Like, we're not the important part. The important part is the gymnast. And so I just want to talk about this guy, Mike Berg, who puts these meets on. And they've continued to be a disaster. This is like the third year. He used to have that meet. That was the Vegas meet. Last year it was the Mean Girls meet. And then this year he's doing this one and a few others. But the meet was a disaster for many reasons. And I was like, how is this guy continuing to get these meets? Because they continue to have the same problems over and over. And then I looked him up, of course, and there was a 2019 Variety article about him. Video game show, which aired on CBS, was the latest in a string of shows fueled by broken promises, shifting money, and fraud, according to court documents obtained by Variety. This is about a lawsuit against Mike Berg, the promoter. And it also talks about Jump, Jive, and Thrive, which was another Mike Berg production where people did not get paid, which is also happening in the gymnastics competitions that Mike Berg is putting on. And I'm like, all right, how does it work? How does this guy keep doing this? And who is the person approving these competitions at the NCAA level? So the experiences of Oceanside, let's talk about this. So one, there was no tickets until 2 weeks before the meet.
I kept checking.
Yeah.
I didn't know if we were going to have credentials, so I ended up buying a ticket as well that I didn't use, by the way. Sorry.
Then the bars were not set up for podium training. When the first team went to bars, no bars. Then when the bars were put up, they fell down. Not good. Then the floor foam was put together upside down. So the floor was wrong. So they had to take the entire floor apart and put it back together. The bars podium was then, after all of this, the bars podium was moving up and down like a wave pool. Like if you're in a floaty in a wave pool, like not a little bit, a ton. So then they had to stop and fix the bars podium, bring out the weights that they put on the edges to fix the bars podium to make the bars safe. Then they changed the name of the entire meet at the last minute. And then there was no stream.
Yeah. And it wasn't just like, oh, there was never going to be a stream of this competition. It was, we thought there was. And teams were reporting that, like, I think Cal's first press release was, we don't know the information about the stream yet, but there will be a stream. Like, we thought there was going to be a stream until there wasn't.
And, this is the reason that this was so important to cover the first weekend is because there's two Olympic champions, two Olympic gold medalists competing in this competition. And there's other Olympians there and world champions, but like it's the one with the Olympians. This was the meet. And it should not be, the gymnasts deserve better. And it should have been sold out. There should have been tons of people here. This is where the GOAT tour was. It's just, I am frustrated that the gymnasts continue to have to put up with this kind of treatment for several years in a row now, when there was a story in 2019 about how this guy was trouble.
And it's just like not great for the sport. This is an opportunity, not great for the sport in terms of this is a great opportunity for exposure that was, squandered.
Right.
And unfortunately, because there are like positive things, like we were both commenting on, this was my first time at this arena. It's a really nice new arena that's like perfect size for gymnastics.
Yep.
Like you should do things here. This is a good place. Just like get it, make it do good.
Yeah, it's really easy to get in and out of. It's a great size for gymnastics. Like every seat you can see well. It's just like, it's a great gymnastics venue. Yeah. So we're going to talk more about that meet and the actual gymnastics. But I want to talk about some Gymternet news first, because we've been off for 2 weeks. So Simone won an award again. So
sure. Yeah.
Sports Illustrated.
Throw it on the pile with the rest of them. So what award was this one?
This was the Sports Illustrated 2024 Sports Person of the Year award.
That's a solid one.
Yeah.
You put that one up. You don't put that in the closet.
Yeah, I mean,
in her like
Sports
awards
Illustrated
closet.
illustrious.
That can be out. Yeah, that's a big one.
She also said she's not planning on being in LA, which is also not a surprise. Like, she has continued to not commit to anything. Not saying she's retired publicly, but I think she's done. I've said this before. We've talked about that before. But you never know unless they change all the rules, like she clearly stated on that late night show. And
she's like, I want to do some of the events.
And we've also talked about how the FIG or the LA 28 has asked for a mixed team event from the FIG. And I think this is also their attempt to like get us Simone, get her on one event so we can get Simone at her home Olympics. Simone, also speaking of Simone, is going to be at the Georgia home opener meet. It's Cecile's inaugural meet as the co-head coach.
How that worked out.
It's January 17th against Boise State. I think it's so smart of them to have such a late first meet. Like these meets that are right after you come back from the holiday vacation. Oof. Which I'm surprised. Oceanside, actually, everyone did like pretty well for being right back from the holiday. But yeah, it's their first home meet specifically, not their first meet of the season, but first.
But they did not have they did an intra squad past weekend, but they did not have a competitive meet in the first weekend. Yeah, and a lot of teams didn't. And
it's already sold out. This is the power of Simone. So good.
Yeah,
good job, everybody.
Look what happened there?
Yeah. Utah continue to be setting the standard for how to market gymnastics for generation after generation. So they have sold a record number of season tickets, not just tickets, season tickets, 9,267. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to do, like, it's a hard thing to build that fan base in the first place. And then it's also a hard thing to maintain it. And, they've had like kind of a dip. Was it 2023 where it was like, it was only, their average attendance was only 13,000, which every other team would bite your arm off for 13,000. But like Utah's usually 15,000. So, it is, you have to build it back up and you have to keep, adding wood to that fire. And you can't just be like, okay, we, established this support in the 90s and we're just going to assume it's still going to be there. Because if you start losing and no one's excited about the team, they're going to stop coming.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We had some roster alerts we talked about last week on College and Cocktails, but we have DiCello is out for now with another with a heel surgery. We have
when we talk about Haley Bryant's UCL.
Haley Bryant elbow issue, and then we have Annie Beard from LSU has been removed from the roster.
Yeah. So we saw her at the Gym 101 do beam, but fell and stopped. And so, I don't know. It's a shame because she's such a good beamer. Like, she's been such a good beamer for so long. I was really looking forward to seeing her consistently in LSU's lineups, and never really happened for her.
Yeah.
Because she has the execution, like, beyond.
Yes, she's a beautiful gymnast. We watched her so much as a junior. Just be fantastic. And I wonder if, like, part of me is like, I hope this was her choice and she was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I also just love if someone mid-routine is just like, you know what? Can I just go to school
like,
now?
I think I'm done.
Yeah. I hope it's
done.
A happy decision for her. Some sad news, but also amazing. So Agnes Keleti was the oldest living Olympic medal winner who survived the Holocaust, looked like the happiest person in the whole world, competed.
Was still doing splits at 100.
Yes. Was doing gymnastics back in the, when they wore like the little onesie and no one shaved their armpits days with the little belt and all of that standing on the bar. She survived so much, looked so happy, made it to 103 and passed away. So we hope she is cartwheeling in heaven, enjoying herself.
In tribute, you should watch one of my favorite beam routines ever that I talk about all the time, her outdoor beam routine, which is on YouTube, which is like the one I say that every gymnast should have to watch, like current gymnast should have to watch in terms of rhythm and flow of a beam routine and how everything should be connected and part of one continuous performance on beam, and I think that's the best example you can find of that.
Yep. A couple of gym nerd updates for you. Number one, Fantasy League is open. You can draft a new team for each event every week. You are not stuck.
And certain people need to. I did okay. I think I was in 49th for the first week.
All right.
That's okay.
That's pretty
but
good.
We need to make some alterations. I have some cuts to make to the roster.
It's always hard in week one because you don't know.
I am not a nice coach. We are cutting some of this dead weight.
I blew my entire budget on Vault and then had to because I was like, I'm just going to, everyone's like the top on Vault. And then I didn't have enough money for any of the other events. And then I always have to have Brooklyn Moores, which is a great decision by me once again. But anyway, we have weekly winners, and then we have the overall season winner who wins a full commissioned episode, which you cannot get any other way right now. They all sold out. And it's 6 up, 5 count, just like real gymnastics. And so you can also pick a team Leo. You get badges for your team victories that you can be a bar ninja and get a little badge. So there's a link in the show notes for how to join that. It's very fun. You can join anytime. There's no cutoff. And remember this Saturday, College and Cocktails, Saturday afternoon, the NCAA Gymnastics post-meet show is the 11th, 3 p.m. Pacific after the Sprouts meet on the big ABC.
Yes, the main because there are 3 sessions of the Sprouts meet over 2 days. We're doing it after the big one, Oklahoma, LSU, Cal, and Utah. Basically the top 4 teams.
Oklahoma, LSU, what we're all waiting for. Speaking of Oklahoma, LSU, let's talk about the rankings.
Yes, rankings, first week. Not everyone competed. Some wide variety of evaluation at various meets, but this is what we have for the first. So no surprise, Oklahoma's in first. Oklahoma's strategy of starting as the best team, which has been their strategy for more than a decade, continues. One night with a 197.55, LSU's in second. Michigan State is in third. Jessica's like, I told you guys. Michigan State Revolution.
That's right.
Utah's in fourth. Missouri's in fifth.
Now,
and we saw, I think the story is just 2 197s from the first weekend of the season, which is, go back 10 years and it's like you had 2 whole 197s. That's ridiculous. But compared to last season, the season before, recent years, we're like, why didn't you get a 199?
And there were no 10s. No 10s opening weekend. So you guys might ask, why are the scores so low? What's going on? Well, it's Oversight.
It's
the Oversight season.
Some of the scores.
Some of the scores, right? We will talk about that. But it's Oversight season. So this is the big change this year is the Judges Association has a new scoreboard is what they're calling it, but we're not calling it that because that's very confusing. We will call it the Oversight Committee or something reasonable that we'll come up with. The Oversight Judges. So it's a group of very experienced judges. I mean, like 20, 30 years of experience, some of them, who will review the scores. And to get us a routine reviewed, videos have to be recorded from a very specific position behind the judges table, very specific angle, so it can be compared to what the judges see. I would prefer it to just be on the judges table. But I'm not in charge yet.
The FIG does that. The judges cam videos. Yep,
it is literally on the table where the judges are. I mean, it's like set up on their little platform. But the one thing that I love this. I think it's great. I am so excited about this. The one thing I don't like is that there's like kind of a grace period for the judges. So
we don't approve of grace periods on this program.
The gymnasts don't get a grace period. They don't get it's the first 3 weeks. You don't have to do your full difficulty. We'll just start you out of a 10, even if you don't make any connections or you're too tired to do a dismount. That's what I'm like. What do you mean a grace? What is this nonsense? The gymnasts don't get that. And this is like, we're so grateful to the judges. They do a great job. We are very excited. We wouldn't have the sport without the judges, right? But why you should be prepared. It's not like when you show up to work. Can you imagine if your doctor got a grace period for surgery? Oh, we'll just, we'll let this slide. Yes, Spencer can relate to this. You're just back from a little time off. It's just, I find that very unacceptable because it's not fair to the gymnasts. They deserve to be judged fairly.
Yeah. I agree. But also I kind of feel like we need a grace period because of how much inconsistency we saw in this first weekend. There was just such a wide variety of who's changed their judging based on for this season, because we definitely saw some of that, and we're going to talk about the Oceanside meet where I think we saw that most extremely, where this is different evaluation than we would have seen last season. And we also saw some people who were just like, no, I'm going to do the same. So I thought this season we weren't getting the judges' names on the score sheet anymore. Another thing where it's like the judges protecting themselves and getting something that the gymnasts don't. Like the gymnasts don't get to have their names withheld from a bad routine. But they're up there. So we're getting them. And I was of course, me looking through the score sheets. And I would say the overall sense I got was that the judges who adjusted and were like hit routine for 9-6 this past weekend tended to be the new ones who's like that I don't necessarily recognize their names because we don't see them every week or every time in NCAA gym. And then, the old timers who we've been seeing, the old timer brevets who we've been seeing judging meets since, my life of watching college gymnastics, and we know them by name, are the ones who are just like, no, I'm not changing what I'm doing. 49.5 for this rotation.
Yep.
Which is not surprising to me, but I think worth noting that was kind of the overall trend I noticed. That my assumption being that a lot of the old timer judges are like, I've been doing this for 40 years. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to change a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you want to do. And then the new ones are like, oh, what about the scoreboard? Am I going to get in trouble?
Yep.
I need to keep this up. I need to figure it out. This vault is a 9-4.
The thing that was really interesting to me is this is the first meet, and I'm just talking from my experience, what I've noticed. This was the first meet I've ever seen the meet referee constantly walking around talking to judges, being an active member of the competition, not just waiting at a table, judging on the side for someone to come with an inquiry, but like being a part constantly and talking to the judges and reviewing things. I was really happy to see that because normally the meet referee is kind of there in case, and this was a very active meet referee at the Oceanside meet. And I think we are going to see more of that because if you want to get everybody on the same page, you need to be giving feedback right away. That's like, hey, I saw that, So let's talk about the actual competition.
Okay. Actual competition in Oceanside. Yep. I think overall thoughts, the teams will be happier with their performances than you would have thought based on looking at the rankings and the final scores. Like, I think, Cal's not going to be happy with a low 196 from the first meet. They finished second last season. They're expecting to be in the 197s right among everyone else. But quality of the meet wise, I think it was solid. They have some figuring out to do, especially on like, what do you do without Andy Lee and Gabby Perea this season? Those are big losses. They have to find out who's the best. And I think there'll be a play around period with different people coming in where they have to find out who the best solution is. Cause there still look like there's some, maybe you're not going to make this lineup, a few months from now, routines that they're putting in, but it's the first meet of the season and that's what you do. And I think for UCLA, counted a miss on bars right away, which sort of dulled the meet. But otherwise we're consistent with Cal on the other events. And I think they'll take heart from that. And Oregon State, solid performance.
Yep.
Some real highlights. Good depth. I think that we saw positive things from all these teams, that they won't be like pulling their hair out in anguish about the result, even though the score was low, because they'll hope that they get different judging panels as we go, I guess.
Or hope that everyone across the country is judged the same way, which I was very happy with the scoring. I was like,
Jessica and me and the two floor judges were like, what's happening is great. The floor judging. I think we're the only 4 people in the arena who are happy with it, but we were very happy with it.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, this is the right score.
The gymnasts themselves were like, did I just get a 9-6 for that hit? But we're like, yes, 9-6 for a hit, 9-6 for a hit.
I loved seeing Jordan Childs' new Florex, which is a Prince tribute routine, which was super fun. Like I don't like the trend of there being 5 million like cuts in the music every single routine, even from UCLA, who I expect more from. But I love, like, she knows how to entertain. She knows that it's a performance. She did a great job. She only did 2 passes, and
Well, so is literally everyone this season. Is driving me crazy.
I love it.
I hate it.
Dance. Full out dancing is harder, not just doing poses. But I will say that we also noticed at this meet, no one thought about the soundtrack there. I love that they played music the whole time. So it was like an upbeat atmosphere in the arena, even though the arena was pretty empty. But and I mean empty compared to like a Utah or a normal meet at one of like the schools that's won, what you should have, 8 to 10,000 people. So there was the Kanye prenup song. We want prenup, we want prenup. Then there was like a song with suicide in the lyrics over and over. And I was like, oh, these people aren't used to like a gymnastics, college gymnastics meet. Or
you gotta vet your songs.
The lyrics. Yes.
Meaning no songs can be used.
Mute. But so Jordan only got a 9.775, but this was correct. Because her leap again.
Well, I had 2/10 on landings, 0.5 for control on her double lay, and she landed that double pack short with a step forward. So I had a 10.5 there. And then, Donatella wasn't there. So you have a rotation question on a split leap 1.5. And so I think it was a fair score, but not an expected score. Like our training is like, I still thought that was going to get like a 9.9.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't merit it, it merited the score it got, I thought. But, we expect different. And so I think the gymnasts expect different, and it's understandable. They've been trained a certain way to expect certain things. And then when it's different, what's going on?
Yep.
There was so much, like, watching the teammates on the sideline when the scores came up, there was so much shaking their head. There was so much, like, can you believe this? There was so much annoyance. And it's understandable.
Yep. I actually talked to Justin, the co-head coach at Cal, and here's what he had to say about that.
Today was interesting. We knew that judges were going to be tighter, and I'm all for taking the deductions and making it consistent and fair across the country. The swing was really, really big, and I don't know if we were totally prepared for that. We had told our team beforehand, like we always do, but in particular right now, don't pay attention to the scores. Let's go based on how we feel. And I think that we felt good about a lot of routines, so that's a win. I think the next few weeks are going to be really interesting. And we'll see if it's really applied consistently across the country. I hope that it is, if this is the system and the way that we're going to trend. I think that we might need to educate the gymnastics world and the fans about what's going on, because they're used to watching a routine and saying, hey, that's a 9.85. And today it was a 9.7. And if it was a great routine, fantastic. But we've got to make sure that the fans can get behind it and be excited about the gymnastics that they see and not have questions as to, even our athletic directors and our sports supervisors, like, was that a good meet? So it's going to be interesting. And I hope that we can find a way, some happy medium ground of a way to make it work consistently across the country.
I think overall for UCLA, it was a little bit of a struggle because they definitely have all the pieces are there, but they're not consistent right now. So they have the gymnasts, but they're not putting it together. They had some falls, but Brooklyn Moore's obviously, and Webster Longing saved the day.
Brooklyn, I was pleased to see. I was concerned. And she did do vault and struggled on vault, but watching the warm-up, I was there for the warm-up, and I was like, Brooklyn cannot vault in this meet. Based on that warm-up, like, save this woman. And she got it around her vault, at least in competition. But I think the positive for UCLA's performance for me was the fact that I watched their warm-up, and I was like, they're going to get a 191. And it's not, it's a UCLA warm-up. It's like, also watching Jordan Childs warm up is one of my favorite things, because she's mastered the art of either doing a real warm-up or like a comedy warm-up, where she's like, this isn't really one of my tries, and it's just going to be a silly one. And I do enjoy that. There was, okay, I really am upset that UCLA's like Instagram live that they tried to do didn't show the warm-ups for floor, because Jordan tripped trying one of her leaps, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen on a gymnastics floor, and it was not captured for posterity, because it was similar to kind of similar to Simone's trip on floor, except it wasn't as extreme. So she was still able to get like a leg up and do kind of like leg up full turn, even though she was trying to do like a split leap 1.5. And it was hilarious and ridiculous. And she was dying and the team was dying. And it was just like, yes, this is what gymnastics should be.
Exactly. These are very important, relatable moments that everyone needs to see. Also, speaking of Brooklyn and her amazing, beautiful floor, so she did not think she was ever going to do more events, especially vault. And then Janelle asked her earlier, the head coach asked her earlier this year, hey, do you think you want to vault? And she was like, yeah, I totally want to vault. But she's had to manage some injuries and like be cautious, but now she's able to do it. So she did her handspring front pike half, and it was low, but she did it, and she did beam.
Got it. Yeah. And that's what I was worried. I was like, okay, you got it and you got through it, which is what I was worried about. Yeah.
Webster Longing is the new, she's my new UCLA star. If you're not watching her, she should be the lead off for beam, which I told Janelle, obviously. I was like, why is she not?
Yeah, we were like, why isn't this? You want to see this get this form in the lineup, see how, get her used to hitting.
She's amazing. You guys will absolutely love her. Also, I want to shout out to Sienna for sticking her gainer full dismount off beam, which is so hard, and more than hard, it's terrifying.
Off the end, not just like gainer layout full off the side that everyone does.
Yes. I know the gainer full off the side is terrifying because, you're twisting towards the beam. Well, hopefully you're not twisting towards the beam, but a lot of times you are, and you have to not move towards the beam. And that's its own kind of scary. But the hitting your back of your head when you can't see gainer flying off the end of the beam is so terrifying. And Sienna did it so well. So we should talk about...
Everyone does their gainer fulls off the side so successfully that you can't, I feel like that's just an expectation. It's sort of like, maybe it's sort of like the... candle mount, which Jessica doesn't like calling it a candle mount.
Back dive.
Where it's like super scary to learn, but once you've learned it, you're like, I got this.
Yeah, it's not that hard. I want to talk about the two-time Olympic gold medalist, Jade Carey, Tokyo floor, Paris team. And you guys, I was so impressed by her. I cannot tell you enough good things. And like, I saw her double.
Jessica's one hit me in the side was after Jade did her double on floor, and you were like, "That's the best one she's ever done."
I'm not allowed to touch Spencer, as everybody knows. So obviously I touched him like 7 times. But
Jade's double caused you to forget the rules because. I mean, I don't disagree with you. That's one of her best ones that we've seen her do.
She is unrecognizable form-wise since her first Olympic Games. Her double, legs together, toes and feet together, ankles together. Her feet are not pointed. I mean, they're not flexed, but they're also not pointed. But, it's a double. Who does do a double with pointed toes? The real pointed toes. I need to think of an example. I'm sure there's one better than this, but I'm just so blown away. And her leaps and jumps, you guys, it's just so. This is the thing I love about college gymnastics is your form is everything. If you can't do it with good form, throw it in the trash. You're not doing it. And even talking to Fact Checker, who was taking photos that were, if you're a visual listener, we're looking at those and we'll put them up on our socials as well. He was just like, oh, it's so different shooting college from going from elite because like everyone's form is so much better. The execution is so much better. And we're like, yes, it's so much prettier to watch. Yeah. So Jade was great.
Yeah. I mean, and there are still things like you mentioned the feet. There are still things, but like she has become easily better than typical in college gymnastics in terms of leaps and in terms of the things that have been her weaknesses. And it's like, with Jade is, I think, one of the gymnasts most willing to work on her weaknesses that we've seen in her career, and just like acknowledge and perfect her weaknesses just year after year after year, and it gets better year after year after year, rather than just being like, I have an Olympic gold medal, what do I need to do? Like,
Yeah.
she's, always focusing on improvement. I think I assume she works incredibly hard, because it looks like you can see the hard work in how she improves year on year.
Some other people from Oregon State that I really enjoyed watching. Cal won this meet, by the way, but I think, we have to start off by talking about the Olympic gold medalists, because, they won the most things.
It was the American gold competition.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Poor Cal.
Which is why
we're the top-ranked team here, and they're like,
yeah.
This is the UCLA Oregon State Olympic gold meet.
Some other highlights from Oregon State. The musicality award goes to Chavez on floor for Oregon State. So I was like, use this as an example. Put a link to it of, this is how you know the music goes with the dance. You can't just put background music. This is what we're talking about.
We saw this weekend. We saw some movements are not at the right tempo for the music that you've selected.
It's like crashing drums, da, 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 super fast, and it's like a slow pose.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, not good. My favorite
attack your dance. You got to break your dance like you're breaking the beam. If you have music like that, you got to attack your choreography. I mean, I know, like, I don't want to pile on Michigan because they had a tough meet, but Jessica.
Oh, I can't with Michigan's choreography. The gymnasts deserve better. I can't. I can't even talk about it. It makes me so upset.
I think that my criticism of it is that it's passive choreography. Like, it's reactive to the music rather than dominating the music.
Yeah. It's just they're too good of a team and too good of gymnasts to suffer choreography like that. And I understand choreographers are giving me a look right now like, you don't know the struggle. No, I understand what you guys are working with. You are working with gymnasts who have never had to have dance in their life. I mean, real dance, not gymnastics dance. I understand, but it can be done. But, you have to have a head coach who is willing to do it. And if you've won with just being basic, then there's no incentive to make it more. I mean, LSU too, like, I
don't know. I guess you've always had an issue with Michigan's choreography. I feel like for years, it hasn't struck me as much as it did this first meet of this year, because I think you don't have like Sierra Brooks to gymnastics ability to distract you, where it's like when you had, all the people, your Wojciks and your high schools and your Brooks and your Wilsons, you're like, nah. It's like Simone. She's never had great choreography, but it's like, I don't care that much.
You don't care.
She's Simone. That's how I feel about. That's how I felt about Michigan choreography, I guess. And then this year they had a really tough they had a big struggle in their first meet, and it's a different roster, and it's a rebuilding year, as they say in the sports, for Michigan, because they have talented freshmen.
Altitude. They were at Denver.
They have talented freshmen, but they need time. They need time to get them there. But yeah, it stood out to me in particular.
Well, I mean, an example of this too is like Finnegan at LSU. Like, I love her floor. There's only one moment where she actually like hits the beats and actually dances to the music. Otherwise, it's just a pose-a-thon. But I don't care because her gymnastics
You're like, but your gymnastics so pretty.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Look at that stacked up into your double Arabian. I don't care.
Yeah, do that double Arabian all day. I don't care. But it's just like, yeah, it could be so much better. Let's talk about our new sponsor, Spencer.
It's a brand new year, and so we're talking about Howell, which is spelled Huel, and their Black Edition ready to drink is a complete meal in a bottle, which I think is also Jessica's secret mission to make sure I'm actually getting vitamins and minerals into my system, because it has 35 grams of protein plus 27 vitamins and minerals all in one handy bottle. And right now, new customers can try it for 15% off plus a free gift using our exclusive code, which is Howell, HUEL.com/GymCastic.
So I've tried this, and you guys know I'm a very picky eater. Like, I don't like my food to touch in general. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to a meal that I can enjoy and is easy to just grab and go. I want it to be something tasty. And the good thing about this is that it can actually taste kind of like, it has like a cake batter flavor, which is my favorite flavor. Besides if they had a Coke and pizza flavor, then I would also like that. But like, you know, like you get busy and you don't want to like eat junk because then you feel bad. And so it's so nice to have something that like, you know, you're getting all your protein, you know, you're getting your vitamins. There's no prep, there's no cooking. The most important thing is to avoid the hangriness. And that is what Huel has done for me. And I'm actually really enjoying it.
So remember, that's 15% plus a free gift for new customers with the code GymCastic at Huel.com. Start your year off strong, unlock a healthier, easier way to eat with Huel, nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters.
Club Gym Nerd. Get discounts and first dibs on live show tickets and extra podcasts every week, athlete dossiers, code guides, commission your own segments of the show. It also makes a great gift. Check it out at gymcastic.com at the Join the Club tab. I want to give another award to Oregon State, which is my favorite.
Oregon State, I got distracted.
Favorite use of head springs and head spring positions throughout a routine goes to Sage Thompson because I love a head spring, and she starts with just in a headstand with her feet in a pike position on the ground, which I love because it's like, what is happening? Your butt's in the air, you're in a headstand. What is this? And it makes you go, huh? And that's what you want to start. Oh, someone's doing something different. That's what we like to see. So I like that very much. Also, jump credit, Garcia from Oregon State. The oversplit actual positions of her jumps, so good. Shall we discuss Cal and how Milo
Justin was very into the Oregon State floor rotation, I noticed in particular. For like 9/6s. But you were like, this is progress. This
has potential. For. These could be something at the end. I really like Sage Thompson's floor. But I want to talk about Cal and how Milozan should be the NCAA all-around champ, probably. Like,
she's right up there. I mean, she's right up there last year, ranking-wise. She can get 39.7s consistently. She and MJ both can go back and forth with those. But yeah, she had a really strong meet. Little bit of, execution on bars, which is not the event that she's always, been a guarantee in the lineup for, but super clean and 9.9s in this meet, which were really hard to come by. So I think, 9.9 here is like, would have been a 9.95, 9.975 last season, basically.
11. Yeah. I also loved from Cal Brown's piked front half dismount off bars. It's so high. It's so pretty. Perfect form. I mean, this is the thing that Cal has made known is like, they're like, if we do a skill, it's going to have perfect form. This is our calling card. They're like Oklahoma in that way. So I really enjoyed that too. And I love their
That's what you get when you have like Brevet Judge as a head coach. I know what the deductions are.
Yep.
I see them. I know how to take them.
We're not going to have them.
We're not going to have that leap in there.
Oh, the other favorite thing about this meet was the freaking announcer. It was the very odd announcer.
Very strange.
Yeah. He said, as required by the NCAA, we have to keep track of the scores.
I know. I pointed that out because I was reprehensible to me because I'm like, that's the point.
It's
like
a competition.
You think you don't want to keep track of the scores? Like that's what we're doing here.
Like I feel like he was maybe trying to explain that they couldn't start warming up in the next event because they had to wait for the final event score yet. But I was like,
no, we had an issue with that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what are the NCAA rules again? Because UCLA started on bars and then they were up on the beam podium, like warming up. Like they were going to get a China deduction in 2003.
Yeah.
And while Oregon State was still competing routines on floor. And I was like, wait, what are the rules?
And I was like, I don't think they're not allowed to do this. But I also about that announcer. Oh, well, the one thing back to the keeping track.
Also, he called all the gymnast girls at one point.
Ew.
It was like, girls, back to you came out too early.
Ew.
For the intro, and I was like, then he corrected, and it was ladies after that. But I was like,
ew.
We got girls.
No, it's athletes, gymnasts, or women. Those are the only acceptable things. So the one good thing about the scoring was we had Verdius. So we had like live scores. We constantly could see the scores. We could see the score from every judge. All of that stuff like is why I love Verdius. And they're doing a lot of meets this year. So I'm very happy about that. And if you guys don't like to like click around and see specific things, just push play on the top and you get the screen that just shows all the scores, the live scoring.
For an arena event like that, I would like to see the individual gymnast scores like in a team window after they've competed, because we saw them come up when the score would come up when the score was in, but then it was just the team total. And so if you missed it, then you're like, what Jordan get on floor?
Yeah.
Wait, what was that? I have to go back. And you can, pull up Verdius and check, but in the arena, you kind of want that on the like jumbotron.
Which, considering what a dumpster fire the organization of these
the fact that we could see the scores at all was a miracle.
Right. I assume this was not Verdius and was totally the arena in the organization of the meet because I did get a chance to catch up with Ondine Achampong from the British Isles, and I'm going to say something different
just
every time.
So nervous about saying England when you mean Great Britain or United Kingdom that it's just like from the over there at this point.
The island closest to Europe proper. Oh, that's going to be wrong. There's going to be Guernsey or something like closer. Oh, no, now I messed it up. Then it's not the whole island. See? This is why.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Never speak is the lesson you learn when podcasting. Because something
exactly.
you say is going to be wrong.
So anyway, I had a fun catching up with her and asking her how she's adjusting to life in Berkeley, California. And here's what she said.
So far, it's been incredible. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so different from like elite, but so similar in terms of like the same with a team. Like my team back home, I love them so much, but this is such a much bigger team. It's like that times 10. There's like 17 of us, so it's crazy instead of like 5. So it's just been amazing. I don't know, just everything. The way, just living in America in general is very like, I say to my friend Maya Wiley all the time, this is like really American. I don't think you understand how American this is. It's crazy. So I'm like, we don't do this back home. I mean, I went to her house over Thanksgiving. Obviously, Thanksgiving's a whole new thing. And then I'm walking through like her street and I'm like, these houses are so American. Like we live in brick houses and they live in like houses, and like in Berkeley, everything's like painted different colors. Like there's like pink houses, blue houses. We just have like brick houses. Like that's one of the main things. Everything's so American. Recovery's going good, really good. I'm at the moment doing a whole beam routine, just no dismount basically. So, and I don't want to rush it too much. I mean, I could have maybe done this one, but I didn't want to rush it before. I'm obviously 7 months post-op, which is really early to be doing stuff. So I want to wait until 9 months, at least 9 months to do anything. So, yeah.
Next up, let's talk to Luisa Blanco. She is an Olympian who did gymnastics at Alabama, NCAA beam champion, Olympian for Colombia, made it to the finals, all-around finals at the Paris Olympic Games, and she has an important announcement. Here's Luisa.
I am figuring out my life because it's funny. You would think she just came off the Olympics. She's got her life together. Wrong. All wrong, ladies and gentlemen. And it's truly humbling and it's beautiful because I've been trying to figure out who I am throughout this whole process, like Luisa the person and not the gymnast. But I just love gymnastics too much. I really do. I had my time and my space away after the Olympics, and I'm ready to step back into it, but in a different role, obviously. I was thinking coaching was going to be my first avenue. But after some consideration and some good conversations, I think that broadcasting is actually something that aligns more with my passions and who I am and just things I've learned about myself along the way. I feel like broadcasting and me, we have a good vibe going on right now. So I'm excited to announce that I'll be covering 2 Alabama meets, their season opener and their season closer, which is so poetic. I love that. And then I will be covering locally, because I'm in Dallas, the Texas women's gymnastics season. And I'm really stoked about that as well.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's huge.
That's the first time I've said it out loud. If you can't tell, I'm blushing. I'm like, I'm still super nervous about this, but excited nonetheless.
Is there a specific reason that you wanted to go into broadcasting?
I think the biggest thing is I've seen our sport grow so much, but I still feel like there's so much more to tell. There's so many stories behind the scenes, and I feel like we just need more people in the mix who are able to really step into those conversations and be able to tell eloquent stories about these gymnasts. Like, they aren't just girls flipping on Friday nights. Like, they have a whole life, and they have things that have brought them to this point. And I feel like that's something that truly needs to be showcased. So hopefully I'm one of those people that is able to bring that to light.
Awesome. I'm so excited for you. I think you're going to be great. Tell me about your parents' experience in Colombia and why they decided to leave, and what is their story?
So my parents met when they were very young, and my dad was born in Bogota. He's what they call Rolo. So he's a Rolo, and my mom, she was born in Manizales, and she really lived everywhere in Colombia. Her dad had a traveling job, so she's a mix of everything, but they used to always call her Paisa, super charismatic and fun. But they met really young, fell in love. They had my brother, and it was really to give my brother and offer him a better future. My parents moved to the States, worked at a McDonald's, like true American dream story. And they were finally debt-free, so happy. And they were like, hey, let's get into debt and have another kid. So no, I'm totally kidding. But yeah, that's when I came along. But it's truly them chasing a better future for their kids. My parents have really been so selfless in their journey and kind of just handing their dreams to their kids. But my mom was never the type to live her dreams through me, if that makes sense, or my father for that matter. Like, they were both just very supportive. And it was never, no, you can't do this. It's like, we got to find a really strategic way to make this work, but we're going to make it work.
Do you feel like there's like an affinity between those of you who are like first generation, like Hesley's first generation, like all those people? Like, what do you think when you see them, or do you talk to them? Do you share something like that with them?
It's almost the second you realize that you share something, it's unspoken and you just know. And it's funny enough, I think it's more like the Latino community, the Hispanic community in general. It's the way you greet each other. It's like a hug and a kiss, and it's how's your mom, how's your family, and it's unspoken, but it's respected. And I think out of everything I've done in my life, being first generation and being the first in my family to kind of change that narrative, have it like whether it's society or whomever, I think that's my biggest accomplishment to date, and being able to kind of leave a legacy for other people. And it just gives me chills thinking about it, because it's such an unspoken and respected sort of thing that when you meet somebody who's gone through the same hardships and is on the other side of it for the better, it just, it makes you think the world is a shiny and beautiful place.
Yay! Oh, that makes me so happy.
It really does. I actually shared that moment with Hesley because I selfishly wanted her to be be at Bama, obviously. But then I was like, wait, she's a Boca kid, she's Latina. Like, I need to message her immediately. So it just started off by DM, and her and Suni have, I think everybody knows, the most beautiful big little sister relationship out there. And I'm very close with Suni. We spent some time together. We were roommates. We were teammates at Midwest. And there was just so many little connections. So when I met her, it was like I already had a little sister. And I know she's going to kill it. She's just beautiful and gorgeous.
Yeah, she's just a lovely person.
Mm-hmm.
So you're from California, right? But
I
then,
was born in Cali.
And then you all moved to Texas, or did you go there to train?
Oh, no. I was soccer player, like the full Colombian in me is showing, because only kicked a ball, only did that for as long as I could remember, because I have an older brother and we have a 9-year age gap. And that was the only way we could bond, was us playing like outside in the backyard, what have you. But we all moved. It was in 2008. So recession era. My dad wanted to start a business, and some of my family had moved to Texas, but not everybody. Everybody was kind of slowly making the move. So we made the move in 2008. I started off with soccer, had a great season, loved it so much. And I was jumping on the couch. Like, my mom just couldn't get me to stop. And she's like, I need to put her in something, dance. And my cousins at the time were doing gymnastics. So and it's so funny. It just happened to be Woga. It wasn't like I was looking for it. I knew the kind of culture and the reputation they had built. No, it was truly the closest gym to us, and my cousins were going, and my grandma was like, you're going. So that's the origin story, really.
You guys definitely moved to the right place then in Texas to start a business too, because I know that in the very beginning, like Valerie and Yevgeny, like they did their research and were like, where's the place that's like, affluent enough to do gymnastics and also has a booming population of kids that can, they really picked the right place to start their gyms. So you were at Yevgeny Woga, right?
Yes, I was.
Tell me about that experience and who your teammates were at the time.
Iconic. I look back and I remember the good times more than the bad, but the bad did shape me into the gymnast I am. So I really don't have any bad blood, but training with Yevgeny, it was literally, I think at first sight, he picked me up from a class and pulled my mom to the side, said, this girl, has she ever done gymnastics? She has great talent. And my mom was like, you're funny. We just started. We have no idea what we're doing here. By the third go around, I was doing like trial classes with the pre-team, and a couple months passed. I was on the team. I still didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I would say my iconic group of teammates, Audrey Davis, enough said,
Yes.
Sloane Blakely, Sky Blakely, who's about to make her debut at Florida. I've been itching for this.
So excited. I'm so
for
excited.
so long. Her. Chloe Negretti at NC State. Ira Alexieva, she is at Stanford, or was at Stanford. I can't believe she's actually in Paris right now. She's killing it. She's studying abroad and has a job. I love her to death.
Good for her. Good for her.
But that was an iconic group. Oh, and Dia Moody at Washington. I love that group. They really got me through some years and some times at Woga. But
what would you say is like the thing that you have taken through your life that you learned there that is like beyond gymnastics, or if it's just gymnastics, like I can always stay on beam because
so many things. Gosh, I think I learned that like nothing in this life comes easy. And I say that because my family, they sacrificed everything and more for me to pursue gymnastics. I was the kid whose parents were like cleaning the gym and the locker room, like after everybody left. I remember being in the gym sometimes at 10, 11 o'clock, like vacuuming the carpets. And at the time I felt so ashamed. But it just taught me so much value about sacrifice and working hard. And Yevgeny has this quote, and it will be on his gravestone, I think, but he says, hard work never disappears. Yes. Some people think it's a cliche, but it truly has carried me since my childhood up to now. And it's remained true. I mean, hard work truly never disappears. It's how you use it and how your work ethic will shape, the next couple milestones that you hit in your life. But it's something that I'll always carry with me for the rest of time.
I love that. It's like education is never wasted. Hard work.
Truly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What were you talking about, like the moments of self-growth? Like what are some of those examples?
I think finding my edge in a lot of things. I found myself getting complacent with just good. I thought good was good enough. And it may be for some people, but I had this sort of like emptiness and I was so in my shell. Again, I think I talked about it before, but asking for help has never been my strong suit, or showing vulnerability was never something that I thought would work with people. And it wasn't until the moments where I am truly like beating myself to the ground, but like in a good way. I am pushing myself to the limits like I never have before, where you need to rely on other people and open up. And I was able to become just a different human, a better teammate, a better friend.
What's an example of some time where you were just like, okay, I need help. I cannot just keep doing it this way.
Funny enough, I was just in a very toxic relationship, and it was like, and it wasn't with like a significant other. It was just like somebody who was just expecting too much of me. And I felt like I was their happiness. And I'm like, this is not healthy. And I felt like I could take it all in. And it wasn't until I was like, I need to go to a sports psych. I need to start therapy. I need to talk to my coaches and let them know what's going on outside the walls of Coleman Coliseum. And my world just kind of opened up, because it showed me that you really can trust people. You have to be selective with who you trust. But people who truly love you and are there to support you as a person, like it truly is genuine. Like there is no catch. So it was almost like a domino effect. As soon as I kind of dipped my toe in the water of being vulnerable and opening up, it was like it kind of just paved the way for everything. But there's so many moments with my teammates too, and having hard conversations, because when you're on this journey of pursuing elite gymnastics, but also doing college, and there was a point in time where I hadn't taken a break in 2 years. I didn't take a summer off. I didn't take a holiday break off because I simply couldn't. And my assignments might have looked different than my teammates. And it's a simple act of communication, and especially on a girls' team. Like, you guys are ripping each other's hair out by the end. You spend more time with each other than you do your family members, than you do with yourself. So being able to just have hard conversations, they teach you so much about life, and that it really isn't that deep. And as long as you can sit down and not come at somebody, but invite them into the conversation, or invite them into why you might be feeling a certain way, those were the areas of growth that are just chef's kiss, you know? This is Raya, and she is a 2-year-old Yorkie, and she's very feisty and needy. We do love her though, but say hi.
And she has a favorite toy that makes a squeak like a bird?
No, she is the squeak.
She is the squeak. She's a squeaker.
She's a squeaker. I wish it was just like a silent way of grabbing my attention, but she loves to squeak on occasion. And if not, she'll do the little, like, she'll just keep petting me until I give her some. So she really is very wholesome, but it's just not when we're doing the pod.
How are you so good at beam? What are the secrets? Did you start off always good at beam? Did you go through like a beam period where you had to relearn everything? Like, is it always been that you just can't fall? It's impossible for you?
That is so funny, because go back to Arkansas Meet 2024, best fall you'll ever see. Like best, I think it was on my triple
I forgot
series
about
too.
that.
But yeah, that's a pretty good split right there in my college career. And it was actually hilarious, because I had just started dating my boyfriend of 2 years, love him to death, as my best friend. But he tells me, hey, Luisa, no pressure or anything, but this is the first meet my parents are going to watch on TV, and my granny. And I'm like, oh, but no pressure. So the second I felt the ground, I'm like, Granny just saw me split the beam on national television. Alrighty, here we go. But no, my relationship with beam, it is awesome, because I love her, I hate her. I refer to her as a she because she's just my girl. I've always had a passion for beam, because I will say since I was younger, it has been my strongest. I credit that to the basics that is Woga Gymnastics, the foundation that they instilled in me. It was just the event that I could grasp the most skills on. I wasn't strong and tumbling. I wasn't powerful in the beginning. But I would say the moment that it all kind of changed and I went like good to great was in my first injury, my first shoulder surgery. I was going through the recruiting process, and that was like a whole different story because you're getting recruited at 12 and 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going through this shoulder thing, and I had never taken a break. I'd had sprained ankles or like tendonitis here and there, but never a period of months where I'm just not doing bars or vault. So I was really on the beam. It would be 2 days, but I'd be on the beam for 6 hours out of those 2 days, you know? And it was living, breathing, eating the beam, literally sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I grew to just love it and be so obsessed with the little details, like the pointed toes and having high arches. I remember I would sit on my toes when I was home. I would always stretch. I was that annoying kid. But yeah, I just grew to love the elegance and the poise that comes with balance beam because I feel like it's so different than the other events. Floor is supposed to be more fun. Like, yes, you can have elegance, but I feel like beam is the one universal thing where you can just look at it and be like, that's so majestic, but it's also so difficult.
Yes.
And I think that's what I loved the most about it growing up.
It is a stage. You are elevated. It is a stage. Exactly. This is what I love about beam. Oh my God, it's crazy because I had like a very similar experience. I was just like beam, it's okay. And then I hurt ironically skateboarding, hurt my thumb. And then I couldn't do bars because I had a cast. And then I just did beam all the time. And I just loved it. And everything got better. And yeah, it was that time of I just had to be on beam a lot by myself. So I was like, oh, let me work on this more and more and more. And yeah,
for sure.
A stage. Yes.
Yes. I also love that beam is, I don't know if people talk about this, but it's just the most terrifying event to learn skills on. So
Yes.
I remember when I was learning my releases on bars when I was younger, I'm like, you know what? I did a freaking triple series on beam. Like this Tkachev, this right is nothing. I just getting or balking like mid-series on beam. We've all been there. Where you think you're going to go for the back handspring, but you just don't. So I think that helped a lot in my process of figuring out how to do new skills was because I feared them so heavily on beam, but went for them anyways, that it kind of like lightened up the load on the other events.
Did Yevgeny coach beam too?
He was just kind of everywhere. We had Lori Dix. She is also at Woga. She would come in. It was just kind of whoever felt like judging or coaching that day. They were doing it. But I was coached by Tatiana Shadenko. It's like my main coach. Then Ryan Roberts came. What a man. That guy. I would say he's the first one who really believed in my elite dream and was like, because I thought I was too old. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Got the shoulder thing. I'm too old. And he's like, no, you're not. You're going elite. I'm like, okay. This big, strong man. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it.
And this is Ryan, who's the head coach with Cecile at Georgia now. Yeah,
the same one, but completely different human, I will say. Like, for the better, but love that guy. And Yevgeny was always along. I would always consider him my coach, even though like he didn't start coming to meets with us until we were level 9 or 10, and elite, obviously. But yeah, that's my guy right there.
Did you like go through your own process of how you would get yourself to go? Like, was it always like following coach's instructions, or were you like, okay, I'm gonna go to the floor, I'm gonna build up, the mats, I'm gonna whatever? Did you work through it yourself, or were you someone that had to have someone stand there and like count down for you?
Oh no, nobody was standing there. Like that was a big no-no. I think the only time we would have Yevgeny stand there is if we were doing a dismount, and it was like only double flipping saltos, or like if you're doing full out to the pit or double Arabian. Oh, he was so obsessed with somebody doing I remember I was little, I learned a round off handspring double Arabian because Carly, iconic 2004 beam queen, but she
Wait,
did
on
that
beam
dismount.
you did?
Yes, I was very young. It was,
Shoot.
I wish I had the video, but this was like, goodness, 2010. And
You must find this.
I know.
You must find this.
I need
Put
to
it on
go
the
through the
socials.
archives.
Yes.
But I was a demon child. Like, I was just like, I need to try everything and more. But the round off handspring double Arabian was so hard. The round off tumbling on the beam, I don't even want to start. But that was the only time that Yevgeny would even allow a coach to spot on beam. But I think it was for the better because you had to go from the ground up. Like we had floor, then we went to the laser beam. You had the panel mats on the low beams, then you're building your way down, resi mat. But there was also a certain time, so you couldn't spend too much time on one thing or the other, because then you would stay stagnant. You'd get too comfortable. So the second you felt comfortable, or my coach would be like, "No, you're moving up," and I'm like, "Ooh." But that was usually the progression, always working from the ground up.
You had this shoulder injury kind of off and on, and then I guess I didn't really realize how bad it was, or how hanging on by a thread it was in Paris, because honestly, like, I couldn't tell. Like, when I watched your like final bar routine, I was like, oh, like,
So
but
on
you
a
did so
thread,
well.
Jess.
So what
Thank
was
you.
happening? I know, I was just like, oh, I can tell something's up, but yeah, tell me what was going on with your shoulder?
Okay, I will say I went against medical advice. I'm putting it out there right now. I was stubborn. I shouldn't have. But my first injury was when I was 14 years old. Had the labrum tear, just overworked it, took 6 months off, was back into it to get recruited for college. So bang, that was the first one. Second shoulder surgery came in college to the same shoulder. I was doing a pack on bars, and as soon as I made impact with the bar, it was like, oh, it was like in and out. I was like, I haven't felt this in a really long time. But that was at I want to say it was either the end of preseason or beginning of the season. And I was terrified because it was my sophomore year. It was my first real year in college because my freshman year was COVID, essentially. So I had 8 weeks of school and competition season. And this was my freshman year. And I didn't want to miss out on it. So I just stuck through it with lots of drugs and that the doctors gave and lots of shoulder tape. By the end, got the surgery. Junior year was a little bit rough for me. Created character, but was rough. And then I think because I had compensated so much on the left side when I was coming back from the second surgery, I was like, this doesn't feel good, guys. And I just didn't want to go through another surgery, honestly. We got the MRI. It was another tear. I was like, tear schmear. We'll be fine. And we were. I had a couple scares where it would come in and out, but then I'd go into PT or I'd go into strength. But it was honestly a lot of willpower and stubbornness of, I'm not going to get this done until I'm done. And that's what I did. I just hoped and prayed that I would stay in one piece.
So you had a labrum tear going into that had been there for a while,
Yeah.
going to Paris.
Oh, yeah. Labrum tear. It was minor in the beginning, but then 2 competitive seasons in Paris, it turned into, I was ripped to shreds by the end. And then my bicep also got the worst of it. So they ended up having to reattach it somewhere else. And I had to get bicep surgery as well. Like, awesome. 2 for 1. So that was my own doing, but I would say it was worth it.
When you were in Paris, what were some of the things that like surprised you or were different going into that games, or like either like in the training hall or the practice gym or anything that was happening like on the actual competition floor? I
say this with the most humble heart, but hear me out. The thing that surprised me the most was it's literally just a meet. It is just a competition.
Yes. Thank you.
Like, yes, it's the Olympic Games, but when I tell you I had so many panic attacks and meltdowns like pre-games where I'm like, I'm not even supposed to be on this path. Like, why am I doing this? I'm too small for like the Olympics. Like, who let me in? Sort of mentality that I was going into the games with. And then I get there, and after the first couple like training sessions, we're all tired. We all just want to compete already. There's a universal like, let's get this done. And then I got to kind of put in my own, like, I made it a little collegiate because I got all of the girls in my rotation.
Your rotation was the best rotate. Your group was just like international world peace and love group.
Even People's Republic of Korea.
Yes.
I pride myself. I got a smile and claps. I'm like, let's freaking go. But yeah, I remember before the meet started, we were in podium training, and I grabbed the girls' hands. I'm like, we're going to take 4 deep breaths, like one for each event. And we're just going to like let it out. And it was so collegiate. And they were like, what is going on? But they were going with the flow. And it just allowed them like to be free and relax a little bit more. And because we were struggling, and this is no shade or anything, but my queen from People's Republic of Korea just hadn't made a vault like all week. And then goes and does like a stunning Yurchenko double, like sticks it. I'm like, that's a competitor if I've ever seen one. I think she only competes with like Shallon Olsen when it comes to like pulling things out and just the raw talent.
Yes.
But we can all just take a breath and like, we're at the Olympic Games competing, you guys, but it's just a meet. Yep. And that was awesome.
Okay, so we'll be looking forward to watching your commentary this year. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for doing this. I really love talking to you.
Thank you. I just love talking about gymnastics and being in the zone and sharing it with people who also share the same passions as me, you know? It's just really awesome to get to do this kind of stuff. So thank you for reaching out, and I'm so glad we did this.
Me too. Thank you so much to Luisa, and hope you guys enjoy watching her this weekend. But this week we will see you guys on for College and Cocktails, the post NCAA gymnastics after show. We will see you
Family Counseling Center, basically.
Family counseling night. We will see you Saturday, not Friday, Saturday the 11th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 Eastern, for College and Cocktails after the big Sprouts meet, which is basically the one with Oklahoma on ABC. That's what we're talking about. The big meet. The big headliner, the rematch of LSU versus Oklahoma, or Oklahoma versus LSU, depending how you want to see
Utah are also in this meet, Jessica. It's not
and
just
Cal and Utah,
versus...
who are also great. But I'm saying the people that Cal finished second last year.
Oklahoma's the one who's getting bumped into this top 4 because they did not finish in the top 4 last season. But it is, you know, Oklahoma.
We all know it was the carpet that defeated them on vault last year. But yeah, I mean, they're still they're starting off the season ahead. But yeah, it's like the Cal versus LSU rematch, and Oklahoma also finished. This is the top finishers from last season meet.
And Oklahoma.
Yeah, they were the top 4 teams before the actual final day of competition. No,
you know how sports work. The most important thing in sports is to be good before the competition, before the final. All trophies are awarded before the final, as we know. That is how sports work.
According to rankings the entire season. Oh my God, am I arguing for the freaking during season rankings, which I'm so against? Anyway, I'm just saying Oklahoma's
really
good
into those rankings.
And they're ranked number 1 now, and they're going to be there. That's all I'm saying. And then Brooklyn should just be flown out to do floor. So until Saturday.
UCLA is also there. They're just not in that session.
Yeah. Oh, well, I know they should just sneak her in for floor. Like I've always wanted the whole team to be like, you deserve to be here. And all the gymnasts make a circle and block the security as if there's any security. At the Sprouts meet or the Oceanside meet, there were just people walking around the floor with no credentials. I was like, who? And during the meet, not like, special guests or something like that. There were some like, alumni there and stuff. But just, I was like, who are these dudes just walking around the floor? Anywho, you guys, don't get me started on security because I have so much to say about it. But I want everyone to just hold hands, make a circle, and be like, we all love your floor. You deserve to do floor. You should be in the final. We don't care what the judges say. And then it's like all international world peace.
Final. It's just one of the sessions.
I know, but
UCLA is in the later one.
But these are my feelings, and they are strong.
Okay.
So we'll see you on Saturday. Until then, please remember to stay tuned because we have a little teaser for behind the scenes after this episode ends. But until then, remember to take off and gay, split on rights. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on Saturday.
Want to know what goes on our extra podcast every week that some call GymCastic After Dark? Here's a little taste for you.
So I just have to get my rants out. I've been 2 weeks. I've had no one to rant about to these things, you guys. So God. I know. So we missed Olivia Dunn's beam mount because the freaking SEC network, which used to be the pinnacle of gymnastics coverage, the gold star in a dark, dank, upsetting camera work level of broadcasting. We missed her mount because they were showing her boyfriend in the stands. We missed her beam mount. If there was a way to send people like a bag of dicks, just in the set, like virtual bag of dicks, like you can go on like TikTok Live or whatever, you can send flowers. I just want a bag of dicks button to just show up on the producer's screen. I will allow this to be a mistake one time in the first meet of the season, but the athletes deserve better. Sam and Roethlisberger deserve better. The SEC network's legacy deserve better.
The greatest insult to Jessica is it's a baseball player. If you liked what you heard, get more by joining Club Gymnerd.